That's hilarious. All right. Good morning. Let's see if it's recording. I think it's recording. So I'm sitting in my home, and I want to make a live stream. I just woke up. Um, I just woke up this morning, so doing pretty good. Hey, Magic, how you doing? Um, so I want to make a live stream to show my two more paintings that I've been working on really hard, and then explain the next step, I guess. It's actually really good you're here because I think it's actually really important that you listen to this. Let me turn the camera around first to show what I finished this week, or like literally yesterday. So I want to explain these two pieces. Sorry. This one, just first, like, just show it, and then I'm going to zoom in, just show more closely because it's got a lot of texture. Let me explain this piece. Basically, this piece is a painting where what I basically did is I took a paint knife and I cut I put layers of the paint in, like using a tube, like you kind of put the paint out and then you, um, kind of scratch it basically. And so when you look really closely, it's been drying for about 2 months, and it's got like a lot of what's actually really cool about this one is it's got this texture. And actually what's nice about it now is it's dry basically. It is a little bit rubbery, so it's kind of a cool texture. It's fun to touch. But basically what I'm doing with this is doing a piece where I focus the attention of the viewer on something that's really important for contemporary politics, but it's a lot more than just that. I think it has a lot of different issues. It's like kind of everything. It's the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. And so the story behind this, to keep it short, is basically I went to Standing Rock 3 years ago, which was the oil protest out in North Dakota with the Native American reservation, Standing Rock Reservation, and this pipeline called the Dakota Access Pipeline. And what it was basically a huge gathering place for people that were from all around the world. It wasn't just Native American, it was actually everybody who is kind of tuned into the vibrations of the universe and the earth and how things are changing. And just everyone showed up basically. And 3 years later, that's inspired a global change. And largely it's actually the tactics we use at Standing Rock have strongly influenced the way people are actually resisting occupation in the occupied territories in Palestine. So what's cool about this is actually this is like the Dr. King strategy of boycott. And so the sticker is talking about that. And then I'm going to present more about that, but that's basically what that is. And so the piece is talking about sort of digging up old land, basically. And so I have this phone that's a cat phone. It's a company that does the construction. It's one of these like sort of heavy duty construction, like weatherproof phones, and then a Nintendo controller or like something that looks like it. And what I want to do is sort of, it's part of a larger work that's going into a gallery downtown that I'm going to get more details up soon. But the basic idea is to encourage people to become more mindful of technology and how they use technology, and realize it's not just something to be consumed, but rather thinking of it more as an artist would, rather than someone who just consumes technology. And so this piece will be part of that, and I wanted to show that today. And then the second one that's done is this one. And this one, I finished it with this but let me actually zoom out. Let me explain this. This one is part of what I'm calling Talking Painting series. So I have a series of paintings that basically incorporate a voice assistant, in this case a Google Home, that when they're plugged in will recite poetry. So you can actually say to this one, because it has a Google Home, hey Google, can you read me a poem? And it'll actually read you a poem. I have to get it set up. I'm going to transport it to the gallery, so I don't have it plugged in. But the basic idea is, whoa, this is a painting that can talk, basically. And so if a painting can talk, what what are we in for as humanity, right? It's only 2019. Maybe in 100 years, will these paintings be conscious, like in Harry Potter, like in Harry Potter? So this one is kind of continuing along the same thread as this one. In this case, thinking about, like, are we actually going to have conscious paintings in the future, right? So it's kind of magical. And there's kind of a blurry line between what's technology and fact and fiction. So basically that's the second piece I finished today or this week. And I'm going to gather it together and take it to the gallery. But the key thing is I want to actually explain on this live stream what I'm doing and what I'm trying to do. And so I have this book. I'm going to actually bring it. Actually, two books. Let me get it. So let me get this one. Let me sit down. So I want to explain what this purpose of this is, actually. So this is a book that I've been reading about depression, and I'm just doing a video. Good morning. I'm doing a video. I'm just yeah, I know. I'm just plugging the video. Plugging the book. Okay, that's my mother. This book is a really important book for this project because it is one of the first books I've ever seen put out there in a big bookstore like a Barnes & Noble or Amazon or whatever, that actually says that depression and anxiety, which you can then interpolate as other mental illnesses or whatever, have massive environmental and social and humanitarian causes, which is kind of a no-brainer, but it kind of flies in the face of a lot of what has been pushed for the last couple decades for mental health treatment, because there's been a lot of effort to push drugs on people, antidepressants for like depression, particularly in this case. And what's exciting about this book is it's a really comprehensive study of basically alternative ways of thinking about depression that fit more in line with more traditional ways of both thinking and treating depression. So spiritual ways, mindfulness, all that. And what's exciting about this is he takes a very sort of social science perspective to it. And it has a lot of good reviews, and it's actually a really good book. It's a bestseller, was a bestseller. But the title Lost Connections kind of says it all. So basically he's saying, like, I think he's basically saying community is the organism that we all belong to. You know, we belong not just to a human community, but a natural community of the earth and the universe and all that. So largely when you feel out of place, basically the gist of it is what he says, when you fall out of alignment, or maybe you lose sight of that community and your place in it, then you become depressed. And so there's a lot of ways of thinking about, like, once you realize that, what can be done to fit back in. And so for me, this art practice is a way of incorporating back into my community of Atlanta, particularly. It's been something I've been working on over the last 2 to 3 years, but in this case, it's actually really the first serious project I've done in terms of like a gallery. This for Atlanta. So the idea is make some art for Atlanta and then do an event. And so I want to talk about that event very briefly, and then I'll get more to it later. But basically, this is the idea. Art and technology are the same thing. They're a spectrum, and we use that art and technology as a way to communicate from our soul to the world, things that are inside our soul. And art has always been this way of connecting to the world, connecting the soul to the world, and it has always been there for thousands and thousands of years as the one vehicle for doing that. And so if someone has lost connection, okay, so like kind of tapping into this idea of the book, if you've lost connection, then art provides a way to re-enter that world, because the art then can, if there's something inside your soul that's maybe trauma or something happened, right, a wound of some kind, the art can be used to connect to the world, basically. And if you didn't do the art, then you would never be able to say to the rest of the people that are part of your community, this is what I've been through, number one. This is how it affects me spiritually. And so art is actually very simple. When people look at art, they're oftentimes like, I don't understand art, particularly contemporary art. But it's actually, the main idea of all art is to express what's in your soul. And you only do art truly if, at least art that's impactful, really, I think, is if it's done almost like you have to do it to get out of a hell. That's even a quote. There's some kind of, I think it's no one has ever written, painted, sculpted, or sung or something like that, except to literally get out of hell. That's Antoine Artaud. It's a famous quote. But what's true about that is really good art. It somehow captures something both about the community and the artist. So what's going to be part of this event is hopefully creating a space where people can discover that inside themselves. So once I get these two pieces to gallery downtown, I'm hopefully going to be able to sit down and think about designing that event and coming up with ways of perhaps providing some materials or even some resources in terms of people to, like other artists, basically to guide people in some kind of meditation, and then an actual like build basically of their own art. And the goal will be to create a collective expression of this sort of new way of thinking about things. And particularly we want to focus on people that have been left out. So particularly people that have maybe been through some kind of trauma, like a veteran, if it's in that case it's war, or someone who's struggling with like abuse, or with it substance abuse, or have they been like abused. All those kinds of things relate to trauma. And I want to kind of like invite people strategically so we get a good sampling of people from Atlanta that represent like the city, basically. And then once that happens, the people come. I'm hoping to create it to be a regular thing where it's not just one thing, one time, but a repeating of practice. And I'm hoping it's something that can kind of catch on. I don't know, we'll see how it goes. But the basic idea is to provide some kind of lesson about technology in each event that would be able to enable people to go from consumer to creator. And the focus then is on, once you make that shift, how can art be used as a practice to reconnect people's souls back to their communities? That's like the large idea. And when it comes to why technology, why not just painting or more traditional forms of art, I think what's important to realize is we live in an extremely technological world, and your phone, it has almost like infinite ways you can use it to do art. It doesn't have to be something you just consume content, rather you can create content. Think about people that make whole albums on streaming platforms just using their telephone and maybe a really good microphone or something. Maybe just the phone itself. It's hard. A lot of people are doing that. It's people are making livings doing this. So that's just an example with music, but it's the same for other things like photography, or think about like how people have launched probably photography or video careers from Instagram, right? So um, the first like meeting will be something that uses the phone, and I have to design that curriculum. But the basic idea is we'll focus on the phone, but we'll we'll be able to make that shift from consumer to creator in the span of 2-3 hours, and hopefully come up with something that could lead to, whether it's painting, music, programming, doesn't matter. It's all art at the end of the day. And the main idea is to put it in the context of healing, but um, that's thing about the soul, like reconnecting the soul to community, will be the driving force for it. So that's like the mission statement, I guess you could say. And what's important in this is thinking about mindfulness practices that maybe don't necessarily talk so much about art in the mainstream things that are going on in the community in Atlanta. There's a lot of yoga classes right now. There's tons of that. There's tons of meditation. I mean, maybe a little bit less, but still, there's a lot of meditation. There's a lot of, well, there's churches, obviously, synagogues, mosques. There's a lot of different things that are offered in terms of mindfulness practices, what's termed mindfulness. But it's very rare for people to present art, doing art, in that language. So um, I'm going to have to kind of create some kind of more in-depth way of explaining it. But the basic idea is your heart is the center of your consciousness rather than your brain. That's how I see it. Think of it like your heart is actually where your blood is flowing, right? Everything that keeps your body alive is going through your heart, not your brain. So the main idea of all this is that's actually the center of your consciousness. Maybe like you can think of your center of your soul. And so if that's the case, then maybe there's a different way we have to think about living, basically. And so that's the big idea. But I think what's exciting about this is interacting with people that are already doing mindfulness practices, whether it's magic, yoga, music or whatever, but inviting people to create something then that can be their own practice that they can then, kind of share with others, and that can grow and whatever, and make the world a happier place. So that's today. I don't know that I wanted to make this video. I just woke up, so I'm gonna get to my coffee. But remember that actually, this this Lost Connections book is super important for me, and I hope it can be for you when I digest it and put it into something more like for the community, like a program. And then once that's done, I think it would be a really nice step forward for people to, a lot of these drugs just don't work. They're expensive. They cost money. They have side effects. They're sort of like putting a Band-Aid on an amputated on a limb that needs to be amputated. It's just you're just gonna have to change. You're gonna have to do the inner work, and so hoping to, um, help people do that. So otherwise, take care, and I'll make some more videos today. I'll talk to you later.